Alright guys, we are going to talk about the HK45. Now we are at around 650 rounds through this thing, and I enjoy it. Now, like I said, 650 rounds through this thing, so we aren't even close to that, 1,000 round review, but this thing deserves a 650 round review because it is HK, and HK has always proven themselves. They've always, and I want to say this, they've over-engineered their pistols, and they do a damn good job doing it. So we'll go ahead and go through a couple features, and now that we're 650 rounds through and I'm out of the honeymoon phase of this thing, let's talk about the things that I like and I dislike about this, and then I'll go ahead and wash my clothes because it's 6 o'clock and boy is it late. So anyway, we'll go ahead and talk about this thing. So some of the features that I really do like. The safety acts as a decocker as well, so if this is hammered back, you just press it down and it decocks. Kind of acts like the Beretta M9. The safety is a decocker, so I do like that aspect of this thing. But another thing is I do like that it has a bushing, or not a bushing, an O-ring right here, and this helps in terms of accuracy. What it exactly does, I'm not too familiar with, but if I'm to guess, it has to do with helping the barrel to slide fit. And then we do have front and rear serrations, blacked out rear sight, front fiber optic sight, and we do have a relatively slim profile for this thing. So, and that's surprising considering it's 45 ACP, but at the same time it kind of makes sense because it is a single stack. Now, I don't think that this is any thicker than a 1911 grip, and that kind of benefits it because makes it easier for you to reach the slide release. So when you are going ahead and loading up, you just hit that slide release, boom. And yes, I just killed a cat doing that. Eat it, right? Anyway, ergonomically, this thing is fantastic in the hands. I enjoy the way it looks. I know not a lot of people like the aesthetics of the HK30 and the HK45 or the USP45. Scratch that. People love the way the USP45 looks, but I've been hearing a lot of controversial opinions about the HK45 and the P30. Not a lot of people enjoy it. Now, the cool thing that this thing has, and this is an updated USP essentially, is that mag release is extended a little bit, and that does help. Also, it is ambidextrous, so you can use your index finger for that. So very, very left-handed friendly. You also do have a slide release over here. The only thing that isn't on this side is the safety. And if you are left-handed, it really isn't that bad. I mean, all you got to do is just, if we're taking it off safe, just do that and then go ahead. But if you are right-handed, it comes naturally. You just keep your thumb. You just get your thumb on that safety. So that is something that, if you're left-handed, you're going to have a bit of trouble with. You got to get used to flicking that safety down. But otherwise, not half bad. With that being said, the texturing of this thing, it's pretty damn aggressive. I do enjoy the texturing on this thing. Now, I don't carry this thing at all, which is why this is strictly a range toy, and this is my nightstand gun too. But so I don't have to worry about wet hands. But if your hands do happen to get wet, you can best guarantee, because my hands are oily right now and they still grip this thing. So yeah, it just grips, and I love the way this thing fits in my hands ergonomically. Now, you can take this back strap off and go ahead and switch it out. But I switched from the, I think it was the large size to the small size back strap, because it was a little fat in my hands when I did have that bigger back strap. So I took it off, put this one on, and it fit my hands perfectly. In fact, I got my mom and my grandmother and my sister all with, you know, my mom has the same size hands as mine, just a little bit fat fingered. But otherwise, my sister has smaller hands and my grandmother has smaller hands, and they both enjoy shooting this thing a lot. And that's to say that my mom and my sister both have shot the Alpha Foxtrot Romulus. They like this thing better. So a couple of the things that I really don't like about this thing, and we're going to get into it, is these front slide serrations suck. Now, they're not as deep cut as the rears. Like for me, I could just pinch it like this. This one, I can feel my fingers slipping as I'm taking the, like moving it. So you have to pinch really hard. And if your hands are oily, they are definitely going to slip. And I've nipped my thumb a couple of times. I don't know if you can see it, but that red spot right there, that's from my finger or my thumb getting nipped and caught in the slide and the barrel as I'm letting it go, because you know it just slips through my fingers. But through the rear, I can grip it all day. You know, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers. You know, it's a little bit harder, but you know I can still do it. So that's something that I don't like. If you want to press check, you can definitely do that. No problem. But I wouldn't suggest, you know, racking the slide from up here. I'd suggest racking the slide from back here. And, you know, if you're a normal person, just use the slide release. There really is no reason to use the slide when you are shooting. It doesn't make any sense to me, at least. So yeah. Let's talk about another thing that I don't really like, and that is about the barrel. So while this barrel fits this slide perfectly, this is supposed to improve accuracy. That's why the O-ring is there and everything. Something I've noticed is the sides of the barrel will happen, like anytime I'm trying to take this thing apart and clean the barrel, clean the slide or anything like that, and I'm just trying to remove the barrel from the slide, sometimes as I'm taking it out, I notice that it gets caught, and so I have to like try to jam it back in without, you know, scratching up the coating, and then go ahead and take it apart again. And it takes me a couple tries. Over time, you start to get used to it, and you start to figure out where the sweet spot is. But you know, those initial times that you try to take this thing apart, clean it, and everything like that. Even after, you know, having a couple months of experience of taking this thing apart, putting it back together, I still have some trouble taking this thing apart. And then putting it back together is even worse. So that is something that I don't really like. But another thing that, and I think this happens to be my doing, but something I noticed is when I'm going for a reset on this thing, I noticed that it is a little bit snappy and the spring is a little bit oversprung, so I will just dip a little bit and I'll have to reset, and I'll have to go ahead, it'll shoot up and then dip a little bit and then I go back, you know. So that's something that I'm not too big a fan of. Will I change it? No, not really, because like I said, this is, for one, my bedside gun, don't really need to worry about it. But number two, it is manageable. Like if I'm going for accurate shots, yeah, it dips a little bit low, but I'll be able to shoot relatively quickly with this thing, and I'll definitely hit the target, no problem. But yeah, it's just like that little dip, and then boom, you know, and then it boom, and then it just, I have to like lift it back up a little bit and then reset. So that's a little bit annoying, but otherwise this thing ergonomically aesthetically and just the way it is altogether is an amazing pistol, and I suggest this thing 100%. If you're trying to replace your 1911 because you bought it from a Turkish company and they did a terrible job at machining it, Gerson, then go ahead and get yourself an HK45. You are talking about the same price as a mil spec 1911 made by Springfield, and it does 10 times, it has 10 times the reliability, maybe 100 times the reliability. And because it is polymer framed, it does keep this relatively light, but because this is a 4.5 inch, I believe, if I remember quickly, or 4.6 inch barrel, you know, you still have a lot of weight on there to help with the recoil control. So you are getting a lot of gun. And then not to mention, if you look at the spring, the recoil spring, you'll notice that there is, or a guide rod spring, you'll notice that there is a buffer tube on there, and that buffer allows it to help with recoil as well. So it's not going to shoot as tough as a 45, but it's not going to shoot as soft as a 9mm. It's not going to shoot as soft unless you get a compensator, and which I plan on getting soon, because I do kind of like the aesthetic of, you know, that compensator. I also want the practicality too, so yeah, we're not going to go into that right now, and that's in the future, but that is a part that I plan on getting for the HK45, and essentially that's going to be it in terms of modifications for this thing. Otherwise, I'm just going to get a flashlight for this thing, another one, because the old flashlight that I had broke. So but yeah, you're getting a lot of gun for your buck, and I do enjoy HK products. Are they a little overpriced? Ever since they dipped the prices on this thing, I heard that this thing used to sell for $900 to $1,000. Ever since they dipped the prices, I think this is the low it's gonna get, and I honestly believe that you are gonna get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of that $750 price point. So go ahead and get yourself an HK45. Like I said, 650 rounds for this thing, not a single choke. I will be shooting 100 more rounds for this thing, so that way, you know, I get 750 rounds, and, you know, I'll be a little more accurate on reliability. But overall, really don't have to worry about this thing. Wipe the carbon off. That's all I did with this little napkin, and then, you know, just lube it up again. After that, you know, you should be running another 1,000 rounds to this thing without any issue. So with that being said, guys, you guys have a great day and get yourself an HK45. Shit.